unkind, judgmental. Since the Land-Dweller was released, I've had an adverse reaction to it. I know that many watch enthusiasts love that Rolex came out with an integrated sports watch to compete with the Royal Oak, the Nautilus, and the Overseas. And I know that this is truly the first concept that Rolex has released in a very long period of time. To me though, it's not aesthetically pleasing. It feels incomplete. And it feels like it's been built from components of other Rolex watches. The Fluted Bezel, we've seen it 100 times. The Datejust, the Sky Dweller, the 6 and 9 come from the numerals from the Explorer 1, right? And the 6-9, it just makes the dial feel very unbalanced, right? And the Honeycomb dial is a puzzling choice. With all that said, I do think this watch has some good bones. The case is a nice shape and I like the bracelet. So I think a couple of well-placed improvements would help this watch out tremendously. So I don't think I'll ever like the 2025 version of this watch, but I do see how it could be built for success over the long term. So I could be a really big fan of the 2027-28 version of this watch.
The future!
So hang around for my renderings on improving the Rolex Land-Dweller. I'm Mace, and this is The Underground. Thanks for joining today. If you like videos like this, please consider subscribing. It really does help us make more content like this. Max and I have this little channel where we kind of share our ideas about watches, and we have a generally good time with it. But I have a full-time job. I have a family. I do basic math for a living. I am not, by any stretch of the imagination, a graphic designer. But with the help of AI and some basic PowerPoint skills, I wanted to share some of my ideas on how I would improve the Land-Dweller. And I think you'll get a kick out of some of these ideas, especially at the very end. All right, what am I wearing today? My Rolex Datejust with fluted bezel and all. Thought that was appropriate given that we'll be talking about fluted bezels. Here we have the version in platinum with the blue dial, honeycomb pattern. Here we have the stainless steel and white gold version, white dial. So the first thing I wanted to play around with is changing the fluted bezel out. So here, where I asked AI to change the fluted bezel to a flattened plain bezel. So you can see that here. This version looks polished, and this version, I asked it to change the shape of the bezel. So it went from a round version to kind of a rounded hexagon. You can see at kind of 11 and 1 o'clock and 5 and 7 o'clock where that circle has been sort of pinched in the corners to give it a little bit of angular shape. And I think this bezel is interesting enough to kind of at least compete in the space of the Royal Oak, the Nautilus, and the Overseas. It might not be as compelling as those three, but I think it gets you there way faster than the fluted bezel. What do you guys think about this? To me, I really like it. I think it's really sharp. All right. The next thing I wanted to play with, you can see in this version, it's got the fluted bezel, but I changed the honeycomb pattern to a blue linen dial. Now, I think that that subtle change makes this infinitely more handsome than the honeycomb pattern. I just think this is so much better. What do you guys think? Now I wanted to play with the new bezel and change up with different dial colors. Now, this is a bit of a botched AI attempt, right? You still see kind of the yellow boxes around Rolex, Oyster Perpetual, Land-Dweller, right? So it's an incomplete version, but I think that green comes across very well on this model. Then I went to kind of a cream linen dial. I think this is simple. I think this is handsome, but it sort of disappears a little bit. And maybe that's not exactly what people want. This has the new bezel as well. This bezel with the cream dial is now a brushed bezel. So it gives it a little bit more of a sporty look. And I will admit this next one may hurt the eyes. So I asked to give us more of like kind of a golden linen color. and I think it just really went off the rails.
Here's a nice piece of shit.
This next version plays with the rose gold version of the Land-Dweller. It's got that new bezel with the pinched corners. Once again, I really like the way this came out. The dial here is that kind of golden linen, which is not going to work with this watch, but look at how simple changes in the dial color. Look at this, black dial, rose gold, looks good. Rose gold, green, looks really good. Look at this, rose gold with a white dial. Simple, classic, but looks good, really good. You know, in comparison, right, these last couple of dials, the dial sort of melts away and you're not distracted by that honeycomb pattern. And I believe that's addition by subtraction, right? Looks so much better without that piece. So here we did a silver dial in a sunray pattern. This also looks incredible. Now with this version, you'll notice two things. I've asked AI to add 6 rivets to the bezel, right? So many of these integrated sports watches have rivets in the bezel, right? So I wanted to compete in that space as well. And I asked to change the dial to this navy blue. This is incredibly handsome. I love the way this watch looks. I love it. All I did here was change the dial color. I asked for a Tiffany blue and I got maybe a little bit more teal, but in that sunray pattern, I think this also looks really good. Here's where I wanted to play with different dial configurations, right? With this version, I added a center seconds subdial, right? Still in that teal, still in that sunray pattern. And I think this looks simple and elegant like those old time watches from the 1940s and 50s. Okay, I'm not really sure this worked. I asked for a Yeeesh dial and the feedback that I got from the AI tool was to give me concentric circles. Now, it gives a different look. I think Yeeesh could look really good on this, but not necessarily in this pattern. We have seen other integrated sports watches add chronograph functionality to it. So that's what I did here. I do think this is giving Daytona vibes, right? So I don't think that Rolex would go in this direction. I think the Daytona has enough of its own history and following that they would be afraid to kind of cross over into the Land-Dweller. Now, what I have in store for you next is something that I think watch enthusiasts, especially Rolex enthusiasts, would go absolutely bonkers for. Right? And that is adding a California dial to the Land-Dweller. I mean, look at this. So this is really inspired by a Panerai. It has a forest green dial that is stippled. It has the Roman numerals at the top, Arabic numbers at the bottom. I think it looks great. This is the bezel, the plain bezel. The next version of this, I toned down the green to be more true to kind of the Rolex green. This dial went from a stippling to a linen dial. I think this also looks incredible. It also has that plain bezel. Now, another change here. This is the riveted bracelet, right? So closer to what maybe a Royal Oak would look like. California dial, light green, linen pattern. So I have one more trick in store for you guys, and that is changing the dial color to a rich mocha, all right? This is in a sunray pattern, riveted bezel, and I think this looks pretty incredible, right? Now, one more change here. I changed it from the sunray pattern to a stippling on the dial. So you can see kind of the little raised bumps kind of evenly placed across that beautiful brown dial. And I think this also looks incredible. Now, I have a couple of favorites here. I really like the light green California dial. And I also love the rose gold with the blue, navy blue dial. I think both of those look incredible. What do you guys think? So for me, right, these are a couple of tweaks that I made using AI and my imagination and just kind of iterating and kind of asking for feedback. And I came up with, I think, some pretty aesthetically pleasing versions of the Land-Dweller in about an hour, right? And I think all of you out there could go and figure out ways in which to tweak the look and feel of your favorite watches out there. But I do think that Rolex must suffer from either too many cooks in the kitchen, but to end up with a current version of the Land-Dweller and that lopsided dial with the 6 and the 9 and the honeycomb that looks like the grille of a Honda Civic. Someone wasn't bold enough in the room to say no and kind of say, look, this is too much. And I think we've got some examples here of some versions that really look a lot better than the current version of the Land-Dweller. So guys, I hope you enjoyed going through this thought experiment with me and kind of tolerating my inability to really be a graphic designer, but I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, consider liking and subscribing, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.